Hello and welcome to Way or No Way. What else can be said about Frank Miller that hasn't already been said, thought, screamed, or typed on various message boards on the internet? That's not a rhetorical question, I'm dead serious.
Frank Miller has been the subject of a lot of praise and hatred in the internet message board community, the gist of which can be summed up in the phrase, ain't what he used to be. But looking at his body of work from Daredevil to Dark Knight Returns to Sin City and beyond, it's clear that Frank Miller's style is unapologetic, brash, and gritty. Really, really gritty.
And if you haven't guessed it by now, for March I'm going to be covering the work of Frank Miller in a segment I'm going to call Miller Madness! We start off with my favorite Frank Miller story so far, Batman Year One.
Written by Frank Miller and drawn by David Mazzucchelli, Batman Year One details not only the rise and establishment of Bruce Wayne into Batman, but that of Lieutenant James Gordon into the stalwart policeman he would become. The 4 issues that comprise the story arc were created back in 1987, 1 year after Frank Miller's other well-known Batman classic, The Dark Knight Returns. While The Dark Knight Returns is full of socio-political commentary as well as Frank Miller's art, so to speak, Batman Year One is a more tempered, moderate look at the origins of the Caped Crusader. Frank Miller has long professed a love for Batman, and it shows in his work, sometimes to the utter and complete detriment of the story.
I'd like to get something off my chest before I get started. You've seen me riff on good books before, so it should come as no surprise to anybody that I'll be doing the same thing here. Legendary status does not exempt classical works from individual scrutiny. That all being said, let's let the fun begin.
The story begins on January 4th with caption narrations of both Bruce Wayne and James Gordon. Gordon rides a train into town while Bruce flies in. Train's no way to come to Gotham. In an airplane, from above it all, you'd see the streets and the buildings. Fool you into thinking it's civilized.
Interesting. Your thoughts, Bruce?
From here, it's clean shafts of concrete and snowy rooftops. The work of men who died generations ago. From here, it looks like an accomplishment. I should have taken the train. I should be closer. I should see the enemy. Before the god of travelers can pull a Freaky Friday on them, they arrive at their respective destinations. Gordon is met by the brutish and obviously corrupt cop, Detective Flass. Bruce is met with media and paparazzi. From there we see a news report in the far corner. Following the disappearance of a key witness, Assistant District Attorney Harvey Dent has withdrawn conspiracy charges against Police Commissioner Loeb.
It is certainly not the opinion of this reporter that Commissioner Loeb and his corrupt mafia-bought police force is behind this in any way, shape, or form. No, sir. Guy probably fell off a turnpike and landed in the back of a garbage truck that was heading out of the city. Happens all the time, really. And I'd also like to point out that there is not a large man with a gun behind the camera pointing it at my head. I cannot stress that last part enough. We love our obviously laughably corrupt Gotham City police force.
In case you think I'm being facetious about just how corrupt the police are in this book, just you wait. Gordon meets up with the totally not corrupt Police Commissioner Loeb. He looks about as much of a police commissioner as Tony freaking Soprano. Meanwhile, Bruce arrives at Wayne Manor. Built as a fortress. Generations passed to protect a fading line of royalty from an age of equals. Apparently the Occupy movement's older than we originally thought. Mother, father, it's good to be home.
Now, son, we were hoping that you would join the family business and become a doctor, and not dress up like a lunatic, kicking people in the face and hating rock and roll. I can't stress this part enough, Bruce. Do not become a dark-clad, paranoid, bat-themed vigilante suffering from survivor's guilt who takes it out on a superstitious and cowardly lot.
We then cut to Flass, who apparently likes to eat his cocaine, judging by the picture. Flass pulls over, beats up a kid on the street for no other reason than because he's an over-the-top dirty cop, and he's kind of a prick. Seriously, I would think that even dirty cops would be smarter than to essentially mug someone in broad fucking daylight. And that's what Flass does. He tosses Gordon what looks like a pocket knife, but is actually a comb. Stellar work, Clouseau. On February 21st, we see Bruce taking his frustrations out on the innocent surroundings. Poor chimney and trees, what did they do to you? I'm not ready. I have the means, the skill, but not the method. That's not true. I have hundreds of methods, but something's missing. Something isn't right.
I don't think anything in my wardrobe conveys how batshit insane I am. Huh. Batshit. Something about that word.
So Father Donnelly, he slips Gordon a 50 with the handshake. And Gordon, he looks at it like his hand's got a disease. Then he throws the 50 in the Padre's face and gives the squad a 2-hour lecture. Puts Shell on probation. He's just not fitting in, Gil.
It's like he expects us to be, I don't know, cops or something.
Flass suggests that he and his fellow dirty cops rough Gordon up, and Loeb tells him to wait until he's out of town. We then cut to March 11th, where Bruce is in a parking lot putting on makeup to disguise himself and do some recon in the city's more crime-ridden areas. No, seriously, this is how he starts off his crime-fighting career. Well, I guess you can't be the world's greatest detective without making a few boneheaded mistakes. Meanwhile, Gordon is about to go into work when he is accosted by masked goons with baseball bats. Gordon puts up a decent fight, but is overwhelmed and beaten down. The thugs threaten his family, and Gordon hears a chuckle from one of the muggers. He deduces that one of the goons is none other than Detective Flass. We cut to Bruce in disguise walking the east end of Gotham, considered the worst area in town.
Yeah, I don't see how this could possibly go wrong.
Bruce is propositioned by a young girl named Holly before her pimp snatches her up. The guy in these panels looks really weird. It's like the artist couldn't decide if he was drawing Edward G. Robinson or the blank from Dick Tracy. Either way, Bruce stops the pimp from slapping Holly around. I'm provoking him. I really shouldn't.
Yep, there's no way that this plan in any remote fashion could possibly become completely foobarred.
Looking over the scene is Selina Kyle, future Catwoman and dominatrix. Because why wouldn't she be, right? It's Frank Miller. She's telling someone named Skunk why she hates men. Never met one. The pimp charges Bruce with a knife and is quickly disarmed. Bruce barely has time to mentally facepalm before Holly stabs him in the leg. Very good, Bruce. You really put the fear of God into them.
You sure did. Look at the way they're ripping and tearing at you and overwhelming you by sheer numbers. Yes, he's got them right where he wants them.
Bruce pulls Holly off, hurting her wrist, which sends Selina off the fire escape. Nobody hurts Holly.
Or puts baby in a corner.
Another one, hissing like a cat.
The hell?
Bruce decks Selina and police sirens wail in the distance. Holly rushes to Selina's side. Selina! Get up, Selina! The police pull their guns and one of them shoots Bruce in the shoulder, leaving him critically wounded. Hey, he didn't move, man! He was going to.
Oh! What the f***?
Bruce wakes up in the back of the squad car and manages to free himself. Jerking the wheel, he overturns the police car. He manages to rescue the police officers before the car explodes. Bruce, despite massive blood loss, makes it back to the car. Made it. Somehow. Must have made it here. To the car. Hope I didn't do anything stupid getting here.
Somebody help me. I'm Bruce Wayne. I need medical attention. I beat up some hookers, a pimp, and nearly killed 2 cops. But they attacked me, so it's totally cool. Still though, help!
We find Gordon in his car, the previous attack only injuring him just enough to keep him out of the hospital. Gordon tracks down Flass, who is playing cards with his fellow crooked cops at a friend's house. After a near collision with Bruce's car, he waits outside the party. When he sees Flass leaving, Gordon chases him down and runs him off the road. He makes sure Flass is unharmed before tossing a bat to him. He's big. Green Beret training. It's been 15 years since I've had to take out a Green Beret. Even so, he deserves a handicap. What precedes is the moment, in my opinion, where Jim Gordon flat out steals the story. I don't crack his skull. I don't crush his larynx. I don't break his ribs or punch my hand through his chest. I do just enough to keep him out of the hospital. To add insult to ass-kicking, Gordon strips Flass naked and cuffs him by the side of the road. He knows Flass won't report the incident.
I was, trying to make post holes in the side of the road for the road crew. Don't ask how.
We are then shown Bruce to be home, still bleeding heavily from his wounds. I don't know how far the drive is from Wayne Manor to Gotham City, but from the looks of things, it's pretty far out there. He's extremely lucky he didn't black out from the gaping wounds in his leg and shoulder. I should admit, though, this is a good moment for Bruce. His determination and stubborn adherence to his life mission is showcased very well here. Bruce is sitting in a chair with a bell he can use to summon Alfred to patch up his wounds. However, Bruce basically tells his father that he would rather bleed out and die than wait one more minute to find out what he should do. At that moment, a bat crashes through the window and perches itself on a statue of Thomas Wayne. Bruce smiles and reaches for the bell to summon Alfred, knowing now what he will become.
I will become Guano Man! I knew there was something to that word, bat.
Part 2 picks up on April 4th, and Gordon is stuck in traffic on a rainy night trying to get to a hostage situation. He learns that the SWAT team has been called in to defuse the situation, but Gordon, knowing he's in fricking Gotham City, drives on the sidewalk trying to get there in a hurry. Brandon. Him and his lunatic Gestapo. It'll be a massacre. Last month, Brandon and his SWAT team calmed down a riot in Robinson Park. Didn't even leave the statue standing.
What?
From that sentence right there, I am assuming that Brandon and his men practically murdered hundreds of innocent civilians in cold f***ing blood. And not only do they not go to prison and have a seat on Old Sparky, but they get to keep their jobs too. I know Gotham's police department is corrupt, but this is beyond corrupt. This is just flat out stupid. Corrupt officials, at the very least, make sure to keep a veneer of legitimacy about them. They try not to draw attention to themselves or make mistakes that would provide evidence of impropriety. That's why it's so tough to bring them down sometimes. But even if you had the entire city in your pocket, if hundreds of people are gunned down in the streets by your SWAT officers, somebody will take notice.
In other words, if your SWAT team captain's philosophy is let God sort them out, there is not enough money, nor is there an official or politician stupid enough to try and cover up a bloodbath in a public square. Even if this took place before the internet and before 24-hour media, somebody would have noticed and brought in federal investigators to look into the matter. I mean, they can't all be bought off, can they?
Let me just continue before my head explodes. Gordon tells Killy Killington to piss off while he handles the situation. Gordon then shows the hostage taker he's unarmed before walking upstairs, knocking the perp's gun away, and flat out clocks him. Like a boss. Although the plan could have easily backfired as well, at least it saved the kids and ended the conflict without bloodshed. Brandon is not too pleased with this. Humiliated me in front of my men! Humiliated me!
He wouldn't let me knowingly cause the death of children by solving the problem with gratuitous gunfire, man! I mean, what did he expect me to do, negotiate? I didn't even know what the word means! He also took the toy from my Happy Meal! It was a Hot Wheels car! He's a big, bad, meaty dirtbag!
Commissioner Loeb says they have to wait to make a move on Gordon because he has the press on his side. Yeah, the press and public like a police officer who saves children from a maniac. Wrap your brains around that. After Gordon fires off some rounds and worries about his pregnant wife for a couple of days, Gordon is enjoying a back rub from said wife when he gets a call about a giant bat. We then shift to Batman, dropping in on some idiots trying to rob an apartment. One of them falls off the fire escape and Batman catches him, leaving him open to being wailed on by two accomplices. After he remembers that, hey, I'm the goddamn Batman, he manages to disable the crooks and save the one who fell. May 15th rolls around and Gordon gives his men the rundown. Our vigilante, or Batman as he's called, has apparently committed 78 acts of assault in the last 5 weeks.
One of the more random occurrences was when Batman kicked a man in the face while he was eating an ice cream cone. We have photographic evidence here.
Detective Flass, fresh from being pounded into hamburger from Batman's latest attack, spreads the urban legend with his own retelling of his apprehension of drug smugglers. Of course, to hear him tell it, Flass seemed like he had a sample of it himself. May 19th, and we're outside a posh mansion. The costume and weapons have been tested. It's time to get serious. Chauffeur by chauffeur, I make my way to the mayor's mansion. Excuse me, does it hurt when I do this? As Commissioner Loeb, crime boss Carmine the Roman Falcone, and other guests have a fancy dinner party at the mayor's mansion, Batman crashes the party. Ladies, gentlemen, you have eaten well. You have eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit. Your feast is nearly over. From this moment on, none of you are safe. Now, to make my quick and silent escape through the— Damn it! Commissioner Loeb, after his 6th pair of fresh jammies, orders Gordon to catch Batman on threat of termination. By June 2nd, Gordon and Detective Sarah Essen have staged a fake mugging as a trap. Batman smells it out in no time flat. He follows this up by hog-tying the Roman in the buff and stealing his car.
What is this, Batman Year 1 or Bachelor Party?
June 6th rolls around and Gordon talks to District Attorney Harvey Dent. He insinuates about Dent being Batman due to a weight set in his office. Batman hides behind a desk while this goes on, which, given the panels, is actually pretty silly. Gordon and Essen look over their notes and Gordon begins to fantasize about her while she makes the assumption that Bruce Wayne is a probable candidate for Batman. The reverie is interrupted by a large truck barreling down the road. The driver is incapacitated and a woman is in the path of a massive vehicle. Gordon tries to jump onto the truck to redirect it, but is too late to do so. Fortunately, Batman swoops in to save the woman. Gordon wakes up from being thrown from the truck and finds Detective Essen holding Batman at gunpoint. She takes her eyes off him long enough to be judo chopped and knocked out. Gordon blacks out from the collision and finds backup has arrived. Catching a bullet in the leg, Batman dives for cover in an abandoned building. Gordon gets a call from Commissioner Loeb, who is sending in Brandon. Gordon pleads with Loeb not to send in the homicidal maniac, but hears a helicopter signifying that Brandon has already arrived. The Commissioner didn't want to miss this chance. Called in his friend Brandon. Said he checked the building. Said it's due for demolition. Said nobody would be hurt except maybe a derelict or two. And Batman.
He probably also said that he's on a mission from God, it's 106 miles to Chicago, he's got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, it's dark and he's wearing sunglasses. Seriously, how the hell do these people still have a job?
I don't care if this guy has the f***ing president in his back pocket on speed dial. There is no politician or official corrupt enough to back up cops who are so openly evil they level buildings just to get one guy. Criminals might be that brazen, but they have the advantage of being criminals. Not to mention, all of this takes place in the span of, being conservative here, at least half an hour. All of this hinges on a random event that no one could have foreseen. No one knew the truck would go out of control. No one knew Batman would show up. And especially no one knew he would have ducked into that particular building when he ran. What, did Loeb have a stack of papers labeled "Building's about to get blown up" handy? Also, in order for Brandon to get there as quickly as he did, he would have already had to be ready and waiting to get to the chopper. Not to mention, filling out forms to acquire what looks like napalm payloads. And another thing! The smoldering debris and flames would be considered an environmental hazard to civilians who would eventually gather to see the building's remains, not just the cops on the scene!
I'm sorry if I'm ranting here, folks, but the Gotham City Police Department might as well be run by f***ing Cobra. They have about as much subtlety and as abysmal a track record. Tune in next time to see if this otherwise good story can be salvaged.